Out of every celebrity we'll cover in this video, few have fixed their life like Steven Tyler. The Aerosmith frontman and his bandmate Joe Perry were once known as the Toxic Twins because of their well-known battles with substance abuse, and because of this, by the mid-1980s, the band seemed to be heading for rock and roll obscurity. Tyler's first stint at completing rehab was in 1986, and afterward he and the band went on to enjoy the group's most successful run since the 1970s, which all began with their remake of Walk This Way with rap group Run DMC. Tyler also relapsed around 2009, this time struggling with prescription pills, but was able to once again get clean and sober. On dealing with sobriety, Tyler recently appeared on The Joe Rogan Show stating this.
Do you miss being not sober? Ever?
Sometimes.
Yeah. What's the pros and cons?
That if I do, I'll wind up doing too much.
For sure?
For sure. I can't control it.
It's just the way you are.
Just the way I am. And I don't want to push it again, because when I get that way, my kids don't talk to me. I get a divorce. I'm thrown out of my own band.
Anthony Kiedis of the Red Hot Chili Peppers fame had a turnaround that was equally as difficult as Tyler's. After growing up being thrown between his mother and father's home, Kiedis' substance abuse issues began from a very young age, due to irresponsible and careless behavior on the part of his father. By the time he was a teenager, he was dealing with multiple addiction issues, and by the time he was in his 20s, the problems would lead to being kicked out of his band and eventually finding himself homeless. And it would take the death of his best friend and fellow bandmate Hillel Slovak to convince him to attend rehab for the first time. What the singer didn't know at this time was that Kiedis and his band would soon go on to be one of the biggest outfits of all time, releasing the classic Blood Sugar Sex Magic and Californication along with Stadium Arcadium, amongst many others. In their time as a band, they have subsequently sold 120 million albums. The story of Anthony Kiedis is strong evidence that success can often be proportional to struggle. This is also exemplified in the story of folk pop singer Jewel Kilcher. Born to hippie parents, Jewel was raised in a log cabin in Homer, Alaska, but after the divorce of her parents and abuse at the hands of her father, she left home at age 15 to pursue performing arts studies full-time. She then went on to a period of being homeless and living in her car and almost dying in the car park of a hospital due to a kidney infection.
I almost died of a kidney infection because I had no health care, no insurance. The emergency room turned me away. I was dying of sepsis. My kidneys weren't cleaning my blood. And luckily a doctor had seen me get turned away in the emergency room, and he came out to my car where I was throwing up all over myself, and he handed me antibiotics in a card, and he treated me for free. And then the car I was living in got stolen. So that's how I ended up homeless.
However, Jewel soon turned everything around after the astronomical sales of her debut album Pieces of You. It spawned top 10 hits like You Were Meant for Me, Who Will Save Your Soul, and Foolish Games, and the superstar singer has since been nominated for 4 Grammy Awards, having sold over 30 million albums worldwide as of 2024. While that's a redemption almost impossible to top, blues rock guitar legend Eric Clapton's story comes close. Born a shy child, Clapton was abandoned by his birth parents and grew up believing that his grandmother Rose and her second husband Jack were his parents, and that his mother was actually his older sister. Eventually, the realization of his true parentage would cause deep emotional turmoil that would lead to problems later on in life.
I made initially a plea to her to be accepted as her son, and she said, I think in a great deal of pain, perhaps we ought to leave it as it is. And then I got angry. I really didn't know what the hell was going on.
After being expelled from Kingston College of Art for playing guitar, he then began his career with a string of successful rock groups. And with success came a dissension into substance abuse early in his career. The guitarist's problems with drugs began in the 1960s, which he eventually overcame in the early 70s. However, after overcoming the substance abuse, Clapton then turned to alcohol as a means of coping with underlying issues, which included his deep-seated insecurities from family trauma and the pressures of fame.
I couldn't get through a day without doing something to alter my consciousness.
After getting sober in 1987, Clapton released a string of hit albums, with his biggest comeback being the Unplugged album, which included hits Layla and Tears in Heaven, a tribute to his deceased son Connor. The legendary guitarist has sold over 100 million albums in his career and has gone down in history as one of the great survival stories of modern music history. Bruce Springsteen is another superstar who had challenges all on his own. The superstar singer had a difficult and stressful childhood, raised by a caring single mother and a strict, paranoid schizophrenic father who dominated the entire family home, ruling the house with silence and a never-ending menacing hold on his wife and children. Springsteen has remarked on that time, speaking about how his mother was kind and compassionate and considerate of others' feelings, while his father looked at all of those things as weaknesses and was dismissive of who Bruce was. As an adult, Springsteen has spoken candidly about severe depressive episodes he experienced, particularly in his 60s, that would often bring on thoughts of taking his own life. The singer has admitted that he's been in therapy since the early 80s, when sudden fame had slammed him with a tidal wave of both doubt and insecurity. The superstar also has gone on record in admitting his use of antidepressive medication, saying that he's been on a variety of medications that keep him on an even keel. Otherwise, he would swing dramatically and the wheels would come off.
And I'm probably proudest of my relationship with my wife and my children, and then also of tackling the mental issues that I had to deal with in my 30s and second half of my life.
All throughout all of his struggles, he's managed to maintain a career that has gone from strength to strength, having sold 120 million albums and continuing to release hit songs for 40 years into his career, far surpassing many of his peers who have faded into obscurity decades earlier. And like Bruce Springsteen, another singer-songwriter who experienced severe trauma at the hands of their father was Noel Gallagher of the band Oasis. Noel's father, Thomas, was a womanizer and gambler who would constantly abuse his wife and children. The brothers Liam and Noel would find themselves often on the wrong end of a beating for so much as answering back, not answering back, or even answering back with a stutter due to the terrifying presence of their father. Consequently, the brothers had to attend speech therapy as young adults in order to relieve issues that developed from the trauma of dealing with their father's abuse. Noel, the older of the Gallagher brothers, was always testing his father and had threatened to even take his life on more than one occasion.
Noel was the one that got it the most. I remember Noel once saying, "If you don't get out of here, Mum, and leave him," he says, "I'm going to kill him." And I thought, oh, Jesus, you can't be doing time for the likes of him.
As a way of dealing with the abuse, Noel would retreat into his own world, teaching himself guitar and writing songs in order to cope with the issues at home. Later in his mid-20s, he would take the songs he had written and team up with his brother Liam to form the band Oasis. Their sophomore album, What's the Story Morning Glory, sold over 4.8 million copies in the UK alone, making it the third biggest selling studio album in the UK chart history, behind the Beatles' Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band and Adele's 21. It's been certified 4 times platinum in the United States, with sales of 4 million copies. And like Noel Gallagher, Axl Rose, the legendary singer and frontman of Guns N' Roses, grew up in a maniacally dysfunctional household, abused by his own father at the age of 2 and beaten by his abusive stepfather all throughout his childhood. Rose was 17 years old when he fled Indiana on a Greyhound bus, destined for bigger things under the bright lights of Hollywood. The chaos and craziness in the life of Rose was not left behind, though, when he arrived in L.A. He has frequently found himself in trouble with the law, been arrested several times for the results of violent and tempestuous outbursts that were directed at anyone from neighbors to security guards, fans, and authority figures, and during one concert in 1987 in Atlanta, he struck a police officer. The promoter worked out a deal that if Rose apologized, they would not arrest the singer, and after writing the apology, he leveled multiple profanities at the officer and was arrested. In 1990, the LA County Sheriff's Office arrested Rose on a charge of assault with a deadly weapon. During an argument with his condo complex neighbor, he had grabbed a wine bottle, emptied it, and hit the woman on the head with it after she complained that he was playing his music too loud. He's famously spent years in therapy grappling with issues from the past, all in an effort to build a better future. His band Guns N' Roses have sold over 100 million copies and reformed after years of non-communication to tour once again, playing to packed-out stadiums around the globe. Another legendary singer that dealt with extreme turmoil in her personal life was superstar Tina Turner. One of the most well-documented struggles in her life was her marriage to husband and duo partner Ike Turner and the severe physical and emotional abuse that she endured. Despite their successful musical collaboration and the public image, the duo's private life was an absolute nightmare. The abuse that Turner suffered at the hands of her husband was relentless, and the singer would often perform with visible injuries hidden under makeup and stage costumes.
We're looking sad with a lip drop, and I keep asking her, "And what is the matter with you? What's wrong?" And it's always, "Nothing." And it would go on for a day or two till finally, "Why the don't you?" And then this is where I would slap her or something.
Ike Turner also maintained strict control over the duo's finances, leaving Tina with little personal freedoms or financial independence. His controlling behavior involved isolating her from friends and family, ensuring that she remained completely dependent on him.
I don't know what to tell you. It became a way of life. It was on hold, I have to say, as far as I can remember now. I had put everything on hold because it was just an existence of children being involved, debts. Where is it to go? Nowhere to run, nowhere to hide.
Breaking free in 1976 after enduring years of abuse, she then went on to achieve one of the greatest all-time career comebacks when she released the single "What's Love Got to Do With It" from the Private Dancer album. By the time that she retired, she had sold an incredible 100 million albums. If you enjoyed this video, make sure that you hit the like button, leave a comment below, and subscribe so you never miss another video from Project Hysteria. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.